Hey everyone, before we get started, quick reminder, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, all the usual spots.
Hmm.
Okay, so are you ready for this? Today we're going deep, really deep, into, well, the end of the world as we know it.
Mm.
The end of Earth, at least the end of Earth as a livable planet.
Yeah.
But also, we're diving into how humanity might actually survive, make it through that. And you sent over some really fascinating articles on all this.
It really is mind-blowing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a little terrifying, but exciting at the same time, right?
For sure.
Okay, so one thing that struck me, reading through these articles you sent, we're not talking about some sudden, like, Hollywood-style apocalypse.
Right.
It's more like this slow burn, like, over billions of years, the Earth is going to slowly become uninhabitable.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what's so interesting about these sources. It's not like some asteroid is going to wipe us out tomorrow. It's this slow, kind of inevitable shift. The sun is aging, and as it ages, it's going to get brighter. And unfortunately for us, hotter. So billions of years, but eventually, yeah, things are going to get pretty rough here on Earth.
Billions of years, though. I mean, that sounds like we've got plenty of time. Yeah.
Well, that's what's tricky. Even though it's billions of years, the articles all seem to agree that we can't just wait around, sit on our hands. The scale of the challenge we're talking about, moving billions of people, creating new places to live from scratch, coming up with technologies that, honestly, we can barely imagine today.
It's pretty overwhelming to even think about.
Definitely.
Okay, well, let's try to break it down then. So one of the solutions that seems to pop up a lot in the articles is, what they call planetary relocation. Basically moving to a different planet in our solar system. Is that even like a real possibility?
I mean, it's possible in the sense that, yeah, there are other planets and moons out there. But if we're talking about somewhere humans could just, pack up and move to tomorrow, no, definitely not.
Right.
And Mars, that's the one everyone always talks about first. I mean, it's closer, but the articles, they make it very clear it's just not a place that humans can live as is. You'd have to change the whole planet. I mean, we're talking terraforming, making a breathable atmosphere, a magnetic field to protect from radiation, water, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, terraforming. Like, that sounds like a pretty tall order. How do you even, like, terraform a whole planet?
It's incredibly complex. And some of these articles go into detail about, like, the specific challenges. For example, Mars's atmosphere, it's mostly carbon dioxide and really thin. To make it thick enough for humans to breathe, well, one article suggests you'd have to release a bunch of carbon dioxide that's trapped in the polar ice caps and underground. But even then, it wouldn't be breathable. You'd need to add nitrogen and a bunch of other gases, too.
Wow, so it's not just, like, warm Mars up a little bit and boom, we're good to go.
Not even close.
I mean, that already sounds pretty intense. But then there's the whole gravity thing, too.
Right. Oh, right. Mars has way less gravity than Earth, only about 38%. So we don't even really know what that would do to people long term, living in that kind of gravity. The articles talk about like bone loss, muscle problems, maybe even like how it would affect how babies develop.
Yeah, scary stuff.
Definitely adds another layer of complexity.
Okay, so maybe Mars isn't the best option. What about other places in our solar system? I know the articles also mentioned some of the moons around Jupiter and Saturn.
Yeah, like Europa and Enceladus, those are the big ones they talk about. The idea is that these moons have these huge oceans of water under the ice. They even might have these hydrothermal vents that could, provide energy.
So we're talking underwater cities then.
Basically, yeah, but under miles of ice.
It's kind of amazing to imagine, but
Yeah.
also, like, how do you even get down there?
Yeah.
Build a city in that kind of environment.
Right. The articles get into that too, and the technology, we just don't have it yet. You'd need special drills to get through the ice, habitats that can survive incredible pressure and freezing temperatures, and then, of course, figuring out how to even use the resources down there.
Yeah. All of a sudden, terraforming Mars sounds like a walk in the park.
Right. It goes to show, like, there are no easy answers here. Every solution has a whole new set of problems that come along with it.
Yeah, no kidding.
Exactly.
Okay, so maybe relocating to a different planet or a moon isn't, like, the best bet. Another idea I saw in the articles was this whole concept of, like, building these giant space stations, like, essentially creating our own little worlds out there.
Yes. Space habitats. That's a really interesting one. And some of the designs, they're incredible, like giant rotating cylinders that could, simulate Earth's gravity. And inside, they'd have like artificial environments with like forests, lakes, even cities.
Like a whole ecosystem just floating in space.
Exactly. And the articles talk about all sorts of different shapes and sizes. Some of them are even modular, so you could like connect multiple habitats together, almost like building blocks. You could build something truly massive.
It sounds incredible, but also, how would you even build something that big in space?
Hmm.
Where would you even get the materials?
That's a huge challenge. The article suggests that we'd probably have to get the materials from asteroids or, mine them from the moon. That means developing like whole new space mining industries and ways to transport massive amounts of stuff through space, which, again, we can't do right now.
And then building it. I mean, space is not exactly a construction-friendly environment. You've got radiation, extreme temperatures, no gravity.
Yeah, it would be a massive undertaking. The articles talk about using robots and AI to do a lot of the work, like maybe even 3D printing entire structures in space. Really futuristic stuff.
So basically, we're talking about like the most cutting-edge technology imaginable, all working together in one of the most hostile environments we can think of.
It really shows you how much we'd have to innovate. It would be a massive engineering feat. But it shows you how important it would be for everyone to work together. You'd need countries from all over the world sharing resources and knowledge.
It makes you wonder if we're even capable of that kind of global cooperation.
It's a really deep question. Like, are we as humans able to put aside our differences and work together towards a common goal, especially when the stakes are, well, the survival of humanity?
It's a big question, and it's
Yeah.
one that I think, as we keep exploring these possibilities, it's something that we're going to have to keep coming back to.
For sure. Before we move on from space habitats, there's another point I think is really important. All these solutions we've been talking about, terraforming, space stations, they're all kind of based on the idea that humans need to stay, well, human, you know? Like we have to recreate the conditions we need to survive as we are now. But what if the key to surviving, the end of Earth isn't about staying the same, but about changing, like changing ourselves?
Okay, that's interesting. Are you saying we, like, evolve, adapt to a new environment somehow?
That's kind of what some of these articles get into. They talk about this idea called transhumanism, basically using technology to enhance humans, to push beyond our limits, and maybe in the process become something more than human.
Okay, transhumanism. I've heard that word before, but to be honest, I'm not really sure what it means. Can you, like, break it down? What would that actually look like?
Sure. So basically, transhumanism is all about like pushing the boundaries of what it means to be human. It's a lot of different ideas, but the main thing is using technology to improve ourselves, make us smarter, stronger, healthier, maybe even live longer. Some people even talk about like merging our minds with AI.
Whoa, so we're talking super intelligence, like living forever, maybe even becoming part machine.
Exactly. And what's really interesting is some of the articles, they say that this isn't just science fiction anymore. Like
Yeah.
with the advances in things like biotechnology and nanotechnology, this stuff is becoming more and more realistic.
I mean, it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, like a future where humans aren't limited by our bodies anymore.
It is pretty mind-blowing, and the articles talk about some crazy implications, like what if we could upload our consciousness into a computer, basically become digital beings? Or, imagine combining human minds with super intelligent AI. Like you'd have these hybrid beings with incredible
Does
abilities.
sound like science fiction. I mean, is any of this even possible, like in our lifetime?
Well, maybe not those exact things, but the basic ideas, they're being explored right now. Like scientists are figuring out how the brain works, mapping out neural connections, even developing these like early brain-computer interfaces. So maybe we won't be uploading our minds anytime soon, but the groundwork, it's being laid.
Wow. So even if it's a long way off, it's still like something that could actually happen. It's pretty wild to think about.
Definitely. And what's cool is the articles talk about how this stuff isn't just about like some far off future. It could actually help us solve problems we're facing right now. Like imagine using brain computer interfaces to help people who are paralyzed walk again, or using AI to design like super advanced prosthetic limbs.
That's amazing. So it's not just about like escaping a dying Earth. It can actually improve life for people today.
Absolutely. But, there are also some big questions here. Like, if we start messing with our biology, our minds, what does that even mean for being human? Do we lose something in the process?
Right. That's a good point. Like, it's all well and good to talk about enhancements, but what if we like change ourselves so much that we're not even human anymore?
That's a huge question, and the articles bring that up a lot. Some people think transhumanism is just like the next step in evolution, a way for us to overcome our limitations and reach a whole new level. But others worry that it could create like a divide between enhanced people and everyone else. Like, what if only rich people can afford these enhancements?
Yeah. It sounds like there's a lot of potential for good, but also like a lot of things that could go wrong.
Exactly. And the articles make it clear that we have to start thinking about these ethical issues now before these technologies are, everywhere.
So it's not just the technology, but also, like, the philosophy. What does it mean to be human? What kind of future do we want?
Right, those are big questions. And it gets even more complex when you bring in AI, because some of the articles, they talk about how we might need to work with super intelligent AI to even survive the end of Earth.
Wait, collaborate with AI, like a partnership.
Yeah, basically. Like, imagine AI helping us analyze data to find new planets to live on, or, designing those space habitats we were talking about. AI could even help us develop the technology for transhumanism itself, like the brain-computer interfaces and stuff.
So AI wouldn't be like our enemy, but our partner, like helping us solve problems that are too big for us to handle on our own.
Exactly. But the articles, they're also cautious about this. They say we have to make sure that any AI we create is aligned with our values, our goals, and we need to figure out how to control AI, especially if it becomes more intelligent than us.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, like
Mhm.
putting our future in the hands of something that, well, we created, but we don't totally understand.
It's a big leap of faith, for sure. And it really makes you think about the responsibility we have when we create these technologies.
So transhumanism, AI collaboration, all these things, it's like we're talking about, changing the very definition of what it means to be human.
It's a radical idea. And you know what? It gets even more radical because there's one more solution that the articles bring up, and it's the most extreme one of all:
Oh, wow. Okay, lay it on me. What is it?
stellar engineering.
Stellar engineering.
Yeah, manipulating stars, like literally changing them to make them last longer or even like control how much energy they put out.
Wait, hold on. Are we talking about controlling stars? That sounds completely impossible.
It does sound like science fiction, I know, but the articles, they actually suggest that in the future, it might be possible. Like maybe we could build these huge structures in space that could, collect and redirect solar energy, or even use advanced technology to like tweak the processes happening inside a star.
Okay, so how would that even work? How could we possibly manipulate something as huge and powerful as a star?
It would take technology that is, way beyond anything we have now. We'd need to be able to control unimaginable amounts of energy, change matter on a massive scale, and have like a complete understanding of how stars work.
So we're not going to be like dimming the sun anytime soon.
Probably not. But just the idea. It's mind-blowing. Imagine being able to control the sun's energy. We could solve climate change, have basically unlimited energy.
You would be game changing. But also, it sounds really risky. Like, what if we screw it up?
That's the big concern. The articles are very clear about that. If we try to mess with stars and make a mistake, it could be catastrophic. Like we could accidentally make the sun die faster or throw the whole solar system out of whack.
Yeah, that's a pretty big gamble.
It is. It shows, how powerful we could become, but also how much responsibility that comes with. Like if we ever get to the point where we can manipulate stars, we have to be incredibly careful.
It's both amazing and scary all at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, we could have this incredible power, but the consequences of messing up could be, well, the end of everything.
Exactly. It really shows you how high the stakes are.
Wow, okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here. Terraforming, space habitats, transhumanism, even like messing with stars.
Yeah.
It seems like we've gone through like every possible option for, dealing with the end of the world.
It's pretty amazing the range of ideas out there, but I think what ties them all together, what makes them all so challenging, is that they're all limited by, well, us, by our current technology or understanding of science.
Right. Like, we're talking about controlling the fate of humanity, but we still have so much to learn about the universe, about ourselves even.
Exactly. And that's why I think this whole idea of stellar engineering, it's so fascinating because it really pushes us to think about, how much we don't know. Like, we're talking about controlling stars, but we still don't fully understand things like consciousness,
Yeah.
or even how the universe began.
It's kind of humbling. Like, we have these grand ambitions, but there's still so much mystery out there.
I know, right? But that's the cool thing about science, isn't it? Every time we learn something new, it opens up like a million more questions.
So with all these possibilities, all these challenges, where do we even begin? Like, what's the main takeaway from all this?
I think the most important thing is to remember that the future isn't set in stone. The Earth will eventually become uninhabitable, that's true, but we have time, billions of years, in fact, to explore these solutions, come up with new technologies, adapt to the changing universe.
It's kind of weird to think about it that way. Like, the end of the world is coming, but it's not like an immediate problem.
Yeah, it's a strange kind of comfort. but I think it speaks to, the resilience of life, and especially to humans. We're problem solvers. Throughout history, we've faced challenges that seemed impossible, and we've found ways to overcome them.
But this time the stakes are, like, higher than ever.
For sure. And it means we have to start thinking long term, not just about what's good for us today, but about, the survival of humanity thousands, millions of years from now.
That's a big shift in thinking. I mean, what will humans even be like in a billion years? Will we be spread out across the galaxy, living on different planets and space habitats? Will we have merged with machines like you were talking about? Or will we have come up with something totally new, something we can't even imagine yet?
Who knows? I think that's what's so exciting about this whole conversation. It's like the possibilities are endless.
It really is mind-blowing. So out of all the solutions we talked about, is there one that, like, stands out to you, the one that you think has the most potential?
That's a tough one. Honestly, I think transhumanism is really fascinating. The idea that we could use technology to, improve ourselves, overcome our limitations, it's both exciting and a little scary.
Yeah, I agree. It really makes you think about what it means to be human and, what kind of future we're creating.
Exactly. And as these technologies keep developing, it's a conversation we need to keep having because the choices we make now, they're going to determine what humanity becomes.
It's a big responsibility, but it's also, like, kind of empowering. Like, we have the power to shape our own destiny, not just on Earth, but maybe even beyond.
Right. And ultimately, I think that's the most important message here. Whether it's climate change or the sun dying or any other challenge, we can't just sit back and wait for things to happen. We have to take action, make changes, work together.
So it's not about being afraid of the future, but about, like, embracing it.
Exactly. It's about realizing that we're not just passengers. We're the ones driving the ship.
Well, that's an amazing note to end on. This has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for, taking us on this deep dive.
My pleasure. It's been fun.
And to everyone listening, thanks for tuning in. And don't forget to like this podcast and share it with anyone who, might be interested in all this mind-blowing stuff. Until next time, keep exploring.